Senator from Nevada.
Madam President, I rise today with gratitude to address my colleagues and members of my staff to reflect on one of my life's greatest honors, and that is serving the people of the great state of Nevada. I'd like to begin by thanking them for giving me the profound honor of representing Nevada in the United States Congress for 12 years and then in the United States Senate for almost 8 years. Nevada, thank you for granting me the privilege of working every day for a state that I'm so proud to call my home. And of course, I'd like to thank my immediate family, especially my wife, Lynn, for being at my side for nearly 30 years of public service. To my children, Hillary, Harris, Drew, and Emmy, to their spouses, Eddie, Mackenzie, and Colin. Thank you for your patience, your understanding, and your tolerance of this process. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my parents, Jack and Janet Heller, setting the right example and religious tone in our home growing up. To my father-in-law, Richard Brombach, all of my wife's family, thank you for raising such a wonderful daughter, sister, cousin, and aunt. Madam President, I have 5 brothers and sisters. They all played a vital role in my upbringing. So thank you to Jack, Tammy, Sarah, Mac, and Brian. All of these individuals that I've mentioned gave me their steadfast support, made my journey from the Nevada legislature to the Secretary of State's office to the United States House of Representatives and to the United States Senate possible. And I could count on them every step of the way. Now, Madam President, we all know how important our staff is, and I'm no exception. I've been fortunate to have 2 staff members with me in my whole tenure here in Congress. I'd like to highlight both of them. Mac Abrams, my chief of staff, hails from North Carolina. I know more about North Carolina than I thought I ever would. Mac came to me from Senator Vitter's office. After 12 years, we mused about writing a book together, because together we have seen and been through a lot. From the Great Recession's impact on Nevada, the visit from Senator Reid to my House office, to Senator Enson's resignation, the governor's appointment of me to the Senate, Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, immigration reform, tax reform, changing the courts, to just name a few. Mac's always been there. In these chambers, there's a lot of slings and arrows, and it takes an expert to walk through these minefields. And no one does it alone. I've always had Mac Abrams by my side, so I thank him for his service to me, but more importantly, for his service to the state of Nevada. Scott Ripplinger also served the office with distinction. Those who know Scott, those who know him, who have worked with him, know that he's a problem solver. It didn't matter which hat he was asked to wear, he wore it with pride. And I'll miss his hard work, his work on the banking committee, his loyalty, and his great sense of humor. Every office needs a Scott Ripplinger. Madam President, I'd like to mention 2 more. Sarah Paul has become a dear friend of mine. Joining my staff 7.5 years ago, I've leaned on her heavily to help navigate some very complicated issues. From gaming issues, mining, technology, no one could grasp an issue like her. During the last campaign, she served as my chief of staff, as others were relegated to the state of Nevada. So thank you, Sarah, and congratulations. On Thanksgiving Day, she introduced Liam Milliner Paul to the world. Again, congratulations to Sarah, to Raymond, and to Big Brother James on the new addition. Finally, I'd like to recognize Ashley Jomke. Ashley oversees our state operation, has been with us since the early days of the House of Representatives. Whether it's putting together the Tahoe Summit or keeping me up to speed on local issues, Ashley is someone I could always count on. In fact, over the past decade that I've known Ashley, she's become like family to me, but more important, like family to Lynn. She's based in Reno, but we're fortunate to have her here in Washington, D.C. today, so I'd like to recognize her, along with Mac, Scott, Sarah, and the many members of my staff who are here today on the floor of the United States Senate. We have a great team. I've had a great team from top to bottom. A team that includes naturalized citizens whose family came to this country seeking a better life, professional social workers, and multiple combat veterans. Every member of my team in Reno, Elko, Las Vegas, and Washington, D.C. has worked tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of Nevadans. Madam President, my staff's dedication, enthusiasm, and work ethics go unmatched. So I ask for unanimous consent to have the list of current and former staff and their names be printed on the record for this legislative day.
Without objection.
Thank you. Madam President, I'd like to shift gears for just a moment to mention several topics that demanded a lot of my time and a lot of my energy. When it comes to our legislative successes, tax reform, changes on the courts, banking reform, go down the list, I'm most proud of what we accomplished to help the 300,000 veterans who call Nevada home. I think that everybody here in this chamber will agree that while we can never fully repay our debt to our nation's heroes, we can do everything in our power to show our gratitude for their selflessness and for their sacrifice. Once these men and women return home after leaving their families to fight for our country, it's our turn to fight for them and to make sure that each and every Nevada veteran receives the treatment they need, the services that they need, and the skills that they need to get a job to take care of their families. I see that responsibility as a duty and a privilege. In fact, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, the greatest compliment that I ever received in public office was when I overheard one veteran say to another, "If you need help, call Senator Heller's office." As a senior member of the U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, I've had the opportunity to give our veterans a strong voice in Washington, D.C. Under Chairman Johnny Isakson's leadership, we've made great strides towards bringing greater accountability to the VA and improving the benefits, the care, and the support that our veterans have earned. For example, earlier this year, we pushed the historic VA Mission Act over the finish line. This new law directs more than $50 billion to our VA healthcare system so that the VA can hire more high-quality doctors and allow veterans to get the care that they need near their homes and on their schedules. We also expanded the VA Caregivers Program, which provided a stipend to the families of severely disabled veterans who require a caregiver in their homes. Previously, only post-9/11 veterans were able to apply. Now veterans from every era are eligible. This was particularly important to many veterans in Nevada who told me how critical it was that we give veterans more access to this program. And these are just a few examples to fix a problem that came up during my discussions during my Veterans Advisory Council meetings. I established these groups of veterans in the northern and the southern part of the state to speak frequently and directly with them about the challenges that they're facing and the problems that needed to be fixed. For instance, just a few years ago, the Reno VA was one of the worst ranked offices in the nation. This was a time when veterans were waiting for, on average, 400 days for their disability claims to be approved. This was not acceptable, so I teamed up with Senator Bob Casey from Pennsylvania to hold the VA's feet to the fire, and as a result of the implementation of the 21st Century Veterans Benefits Delivery Act, the backlog has been reduced by nearly 85%, and 500,000 of our military heroes around the country are no longer waiting for their health benefits. We also provided accountability through expedited firing authority of bad VA employees and overhauled the VA appeals process so veterans do not have to wait years for a decision. And the President signed this bill into law in Reno last year. Expanded veterans' access to care has been one of my top priorities. Veterans living in northern Nevada, I worked to authorize construction of the Reno VA Hospital and delivered $33.5 million in federal funding for it so that the veterans of the north don't have to drive 500 miles to Boulder City to access a state veterans home. I walked through the construction site when I was in Sparks last month. Look forward to the completion of this state-of-the-art facility. I did the same for veterans in southern Nevada. I worked for 10 years to secure the approval of the new, larger clinic in Pahrump. For veterans who face barriers to try to get an education so that they could earn a good living, I introduced a bill that increases the education benefits for Guard and Reserve members that ensures that the GI Bill is available to veterans for life. And after Nevada was ranked second among states with the highest rate of veteran suicides and experiencing a doctor shortage, I authorized a new law that gives veterans more access to mental health care services and treatment. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with Chairman Isaacson, with Ranking Member Tester, Senate leadership, and this administration to enact laws that provide our veterans with the support and benefits that they're owed. And while we've made progress, we can and we must do even better. And it's my hope that the next Congress, Republicans and Democrats, can continue to work together to get things done for our veterans. Now, Madam President, on another topic, tax reform. When I delivered my maiden speech on the floor of the United States Senate, Nevada was struggling after being knocked down by the Great Recession, a time when Nevada led the nation in home foreclosures and when we had double-digit unemployment. Today, Nevada is leading the nation in private sector job growth. The housing market has recovered. Home prices are increasing. Now we're one of the fastest growing states in the nation. Nevada is booming. It's because this Congress delivered tax cuts that put more money in America's paychecks, their pocketbooks, and their pensions. And we advanced pro-growth policies that have led to more jobs, higher wages, and more opportunities for Nevadans. As member of the U.S. Senate Committee on Finance, I'm proud to have authorized and author several provisions in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that included, for example, and not limited to, doubling the child tax credit from $1,000 to $2,000 per child. Since the law was enacted, tens of thousands of jobs in the state of Nevada have been created, and recently Nevada's unemployment rate hit a new 11-year low, the lowest rate since the 2008 economic downturn. And as a result of this new law, tens of thousands of Nevadans have benefited from bonuses, raises, and expanded benefits on top of bigger paychecks and strengthened pensions. I'll give you a couple examples of South Point Hotel and Casino doubled its full-time workers' bonuses. Developers of the Stalled project on the Las Vegas Strip committed to creating over 10,000 jobs, and the Prospector Hotel in Ely gave its employees bonuses and raised its starting wages. All of this was a direct result of the tax reform bill. Nevada's economy is back on track, and I hope that this Congress will continue to advance policies that keep us on that path, help Nevada workers and hard-working families get ahead. So let me move on. Since coming to Washington, D.C., my number one focus has always been the people of Nevada and putting our state's priorities first. For example, I worked with Senator Martin Heinrich from New Mexico to level the playing field for the development of new alternative energy technologies to support Nevada's energy diversification. Earlier this year, I was proud to host the bipartisan annual Lake Tahoe Summit, and I have worked with Senator Feinstein throughout my career to deliver resources to protect the Tahoe Basin and fight devastating wildfires. And when Congress came together to approve a 5-year highway bill, I was able to secure my top infrastructure priority, and that was to expand Interstate 11 up to northern Nevada. Whether it's leading the Republican charge to extend unemployment benefits in 2014, when Nevada's unemployment rate was nearly double what it is now, or breaking with my party to pass the Violence Against Women's Act, I've always been willing to work with anyone who has good ideas to help move Nevada families and Nevada communities forward. So while I'm pleased that I've been able to work with my colleagues to turn these ideas into over 100 pieces of legislation that are now law, this job is more than advancing good policies. It's about helping people, and that's what's most important. I work for Nevadans, and when someone comes to me with a problem or calls one of our offices for help, we drop everything that we do and all that we do in an effort to help them. When the VA refused to pay a homeless veteran $40,000 after he won his appeal, we made sure that the veteran got paid so that he could get back on his feet. When a constituent had a liver transplant and was denied coverage and left without insurance, he enrolled into the Marketplace Exchange. When the time came to re-enroll, the exchange denied him and forced him to go without insurance until my office intervened. Or take, for example, a woman who came to us after being charged a Medicare penalty of about 40% each month. My staff worked with the local and regional offices to secure reimbursement of $1,000 and adjust the monthly premium to save that constituent potentially thousands of dollars. And when a constituent spent 9 months trying to get her Social Security retirement benefits, we were able to get her a resolution to promptly begin receiving her payments. And finally, when a Navy veteran was in jeopardy of losing his home when he was temporarily out of work, we contacted the lender of his mortgage on his behalf and ensured that he was able to keep his home. These are just a few examples of what this job is really all about, making life better for people that you work for. And Madam President, I know that I'm not alone. I truly believe that that is what drives all members of Congress, and that is to serve their constituents. No matter your party, no matter your state, no matter what you did before you got here. So, Madam President, before I got here, I grew up with 2 parents and 5 siblings who, like Nevadans, embodied the battle-born spirit. I'd like to pay tribute not only to my family, friends, and mentors who have helped me along the way, but all of my constituents by talking a little bit about what makes Nevada different. Nevadans are pioneers. They're not afraid to take risks, to dream, to put in hard work, or to start from scratch. We are self-starters, we're builders, and we're trailblazers. We laid down the tracks to connect railroads and mine for gold and silver in the north. We shoveled mud, drilled through rocks, and scaled concretes to construct the Hoover Dam. And in the Mojave Desert, we created the entertainment capital of the world. Well, one characteristic outsiders may overlook is this: we are fighters. No other event in our history best serves as an example of that trait than the aftermath of the October 1st mass shooting in Las Vegas, a tragedy that truly shook our state. I've spoken before this on the Senate floor about the incredible and heroic people who helped lead concertgoers and in turn the whole community out of that darkness. Whether these individuals wore uniforms or not, they stepped up to help others, and their actions helped us grieve and start to heal together. This immeasurable pain, suffering, and devastation inflicted by one man elicited a profound, innate, and immediate human response from Nevadans across the state. Like many Nevadans, I saw firsthand the strong sense of family, faith, and the strength in the wake of the October 1st shooting. And when I leave here, I will carry those extraordinary moments of unity and generosity with me. Madam President, during the 1989 inaugural address, former President H.W. Bush once said, "We know what works. Freedom works. We know what's right. Freedom is right. We know how to secure a more just and prosperous life for man on earth through free markets, free speech, free elections, and the exercise of free will unhampered by the state." Regardless of what party affiliation you have, I still think we can all agree with those words. We can all agree that we are fortunate to live in a great country defended by men and women who stand guard to defend our way of life. We can all agree that we're fortunate to live in a great country in which every aspiration or dream is possible to achieve. And we can all agree that this is because freedom works and that freedom is right. No, not everything comes easy, and I'd be lying if I said others didn't have to fight harder than some. But that job you want to get, that school you want to get into, that business you want to start, or that idea that you'd like to see come to life is possible in America. A country where the son of an auto mechanic and a school cook had the opportunity to deliver the newspaper to then Governor Michael Callahan, go to Sunday school with then Lieutenant Governor Harry Reid's sons, get his education at the same public high school as the late Senator Paul Laxalt, or play basketball with Governor Brian Sandoval, a place where that same kid could grow up and serve Nevada in the United States Senate. My goal always has been to make Nevada a better place today than it was yesterday, a better place to raise a family, not only one where you can find a job, but a place where you can have a long-term career. Madam President, I'd like to end with this. My daughter Hillary and her husband adopted a young child from China. She was abandoned as an infant at a bus station. Her name is Ava. She was raised in an orphanage for the first 2 years of her life. When my daughter and her family first met Ava, she did not cry when she was hungry. She did not cry when she was tired. She did not cry when she needed to be changed. And she did not cry when she was hurt. Why? Because it didn't matter. She was always on someone else's time. But she did cry when they took her shoes off to put her to bed. You see, in an orphanage, kids sleep with their shoes on so that they don't get lost. Ava, at 2 years of age, had never slept without her shoes on. Now, she did cry the first time when they bathed her in a tub of water. She did cry. Let me go back. She did cry the first time when they bathed her in a tub of water. In an orphanage, you take cloth baths. So Ava had never been in a bathtub. Today, when Ava falls, someone is there to pick her up. Today, when she cries, someone is there to wipe away the tears. Today, when she's hungry, someone's there to feed her. And today, when she's tired, there's always someone there to tuck her into bed. And when Ava grows up in this country, there will be plenty of doors that she can open that would otherwise have been closed. And I will never forget, I'll never forget seeing my newest granddaughter in the arms of the vice president, knowing that her life had changed forever. So, Madam President, this is the job at hand, to uphold this country's longstanding reputation as the land of opportunity. So I'm an optimist. I'll remain one after leaving this great chamber because I've seen remarkable moments here in Washington. This body has come a long way from its early days when Henry Clay, Daniel Webster, and John Calhoun were navigating a divided nation and fighting to save our young democracy. I believe that our nation's future is bright, and that of Nevada's future is bright. My heart has and always will be in Nevada, a state that I love and a place where I'm so proud to call home. Nevada, thank you for giving me the opportunity to work for you. Thank you, Madam President.